Hello, brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man Channel. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who doesn't play your game, and Sigma males never play. Toxic people thrive on drama, manipulation, and control. But here's a hard truth. They're powerless against someone who operates in silence, thrives in solitude, and views their antics as nothing more than noise. Studies even show that highly independent and self-reliant individuals, much like Sigma males, are less likely to tolerate toxic behavior, let alone be influenced by it. But here's the kicker. Sigma males don't just avoid toxic people, they flip the entire script. They're the kind of men who can walk into a room, spot a manipulator from a mile away, and dismantle their control without lifting a finger. And trust me, the way they handle it is so mind-blowingly clever, you'll wonder if they've been taking secret lessons in psychological warfare. It's like giving a chessboard to someone playing checkers. They don't even realize they've lost until it's over. Number one, they subtly expose the toxic person's patterns without confrontation. Sigma males have a knack for exposing toxic people without ever raising their voices or causing a scene. Instead of calling them out directly, they take a much smarter and more subtle approach. They observe the toxic person's behavior, piece together the patterns, and then hold up a metaphorical mirror that forces them to face their own actions. This isn't done with aggression or malice. It's done with calculated precision. For example, when a manipulator tries to twist words or spin lies, a Sigma male might respond with calm, direct questions that highlight the contradictions in their story. They won't accuse or argue, they'll just ask, "Didn't you just say the opposite last week?" Or "That doesn't quite add up. Can you explain?" These seemingly innocent questions expose the cracks in the manipulator's game, leaving them squirming under the weight of their own lies. What makes this approach so effective is that it disarms the toxic person without ever giving them the fight they crave. They can't lash out because the Sigma hasn't done anything outright confrontational, and they can't defend themselves without unraveling further. The toxic person is left floundering, unable to keep their facade intact. It's a game of psychological chess, and Sigmas are always 10 moves ahead. They don't stoop to the manipulator's level, they simply make it impossible for their toxic tactics to go unnoticed. And the best part, they let the toxic person do all the heavy lifting, exposing themselves while the Sigma calmly watches from the sidelines. By the time the dust settles, everyone around sees the truth. And the Sigma male walks away unbothered, leaving the toxic person to deal with the fallout of their own behavior. Number two, they turn social circles against the toxic person effortlessly. Sigma males are masters of subtlety, and when dealing with toxic people, they let their actions speak louder than words. They don't rally troops or launch smear campaigns. They don't need to. Instead, they rely on a quiet, almost surgical approach that reveals the true nature of the toxic person to everyone around them. The brilliance lies in how effortlessly they manage this without ever appearing involved. When a toxic person starts their usual antics, spreading lies, stirring drama, or playing the victim, Sigma males remain calm and detached. They refuse to feed into the chaos, but their refusal to engage isn't passive. Through carefully chosen words, well-timed silences, and undeniable consistency in character, Sigmas subtly expose the toxic person's behavior for what it is. They may ask pointed, neutral questions in group settings that force the toxic individual to contradict themselves or reveal their own manipulative tendencies. The key here is that Sigmas never openly accuse or criticize. They simply create situations where the toxic person's actions can't be ignored. Over time, the toxic individual's own behavior becomes their downfall. Friends, colleagues, or acquaintances begin to notice the inconsistencies, the lies, and the drama for themselves. And while the toxic person is busy scrambling to maintain control, the Sigma male is simply minding his business, unaffected and unimpressed. Slowly but surely, the toxic person starts losing allies and support, eventually finding themselves isolated, not because the Sigma male turned everyone against them, but because they did it to themselves. It's like watching someone dig their own grave. And the Sigma? He's already moved on, leaving the toxic energy far behind. It's not revenge. It's letting the truth do all the work. Number three, they break toxic cycles by never seeking validation. Toxic people thrive on validation like it's their life source. They need others to crave their approval so they can manipulate, control, and keep the upper hand. But Sigma males, they operate on an entirely different wavelength. They don't seek validation from anyone, not friends, family, or society at large, and this completely dismantles the toxic person's entire strategy. When a Sigma male interacts with someone toxic, there's no emotional hook for the manipulator to latch onto. Compliments won't inflate his ego, criticism won't dent his confidence, and attempts to guilt or shame him will fall flat. The toxic person is left frustrated, like a puppeteer trying to pull strings that don't exist. Sigma males simply don't care enough to play the game. What's more, Sigmas don't need external approval to feel good about themselves. They're completely comfortable in their own skin and don't measure their worth by how others perceive them. This independence makes it impossible for a toxic person to gain leverage because the usual tricks, whether it's love bombing, gaslighting, or power plays, lose their effectiveness when the target doesn't care. And here's the best part. This lack of dependency doesn't just break the toxic cycle. It makes the manipulator painfully aware of how powerless they are. When they can't control someone, they lose interest or spiral into their own frustration, and the Sigma male walks away unscathed. No arguments, no drama, just an unshakable presence that refuses to bend to anyone else's will. For a toxic person, it's like running into a brick wall, but for the Sigma, it's just another day of being unapologetically themselves. Number 4, they use their absence as the ultimate punishment. Sigma males understand one thing better than most. Nothing stings a toxic person more than being completely ignored. While others might get caught up in arguments, explanations, or trying to prove their point, a Sigma knows that walking away, clean, quiet, and without a shred of drama, is the most devastating blow. Toxic people thrive on control and attention. They need to feel significant, whether through admiration or conflict, and they rely on their target to stick around long enough to keep playing their twisted games. But when a Sigma male decides it's time to go, they leave no room for second chances or lingering attachments. They don't argue, they don't justify, and they don't leave breadcrumbs for the toxic person to follow. They simply disappear. This absence is more than just physical, it's psychological. By removing themselves entirely, the Sigma male sends a loud, unspoken message. You were never worth my time. It forces the toxic person to confront their own irrelevance, which is a fate worse than any verbal confrontation. No closure is given because to the Sigma there's nothing to close. Toxicity doesn't deserve explanations or farewells. It deserves to be left behind like the dead weight it is. What's even more infuriating for the toxic person is that Sigmas don't even look back. They don't stalk, check in, or wonder how the person is coping. They've already moved on, focusing their energy on better things. The toxic person, meanwhile, is left stewing in their own frustration, replaying the absence over and over in their head, desperate for the attention they'll never get again. For the Sigma, it's not revenge. It's simply refusing to give undeserving people a seat at their table. Number 5, they refuse to play the victim card, even when targeted. Toxic people love nothing more than to push their targets into a corner, expecting outrage, drama, or an emotional meltdown they can exploit. But when they target a Sigma male, they're in for a rude awakening. Sigmas never hand over the power by playing the victim card. Even when under attack, they handle the situation with a calm detachment that leaves the toxic person fumbling for control. What's so disarming about a Sigma's response is their refusal to complain or seek sympathy. They don't rally others to take their side, they don't vent endlessly, and they certainly don't let the toxic person's actions define them. Instead, they quietly assess the situation, make their move, and keep going as if the toxic behavior barely registered. This kind of poise isn't just intimidating, it's deeply unsettling for toxic people who thrive on emotional chaos. By refusing to play the victim, Sigmas rob the toxic person of the reaction they're fishing for. There's no emotional fuel to feed their manipulation, no public drama to gain attention from, and no wounds for them to poke at. To a toxic person, this feels like trying to light a fire with wet matches. It's exhausting, frustrating, and ultimately futile. Meanwhile, the Sigma's composure sends a clear message. Your actions don't affect me, and I don't need validation to move on. It's a power move that flips the script entirely. While the toxic person is left grasping for control, the Sigma male simply walks away stronger, unbothered, and completely untouchable. This isn't about ignoring the issue, it's about refusing to let toxicity dictate the narrative, and for the Sigma, that's the ultimate win. Number 6, they highlight toxic behavior through detached curiosity. When faced with toxic behavior, Sigma males don't meet it with anger or emotional outbursts. Instead, they lean into a strategy that's as clever as it is unnerving: detached curiosity. It's not that they're unaffected, it's that they refuse to let toxic people drag them into an emotional game. Instead, they approach the situation like a scientist dissecting a problem, calmly asking questions that expose the cracks in the toxic person's motives. When someone tries to manipulate, gaslight, or create drama, a Sigma won't bite. Instead, they might ask something like, "Why do you feel the need to do that?" Or, "What exactly are you trying to achieve here?" These aren't sarcastic jabs, they're genuine probing questions delivered in a tone so calm it's almost unsettling. The toxic person, used to eliciting emotional reactions, is suddenly thrown off balance. They're not prepared to have their actions examined so directly, and it forces them to confront the absurdity of their own behavior. The brilliance of this approach is that it shifts the focus entirely. The toxic person, who thrives on deflecting blame or creating chaos, now has the spotlight squarely on them. Their manipulative tactics are laid bare, and they're forced to either explain themselves, which usually exposes their intentions, or backpedal awkwardly. This isn't about playing therapist or fixing the toxic person. It's about showing them and anyone else watching that their behavior doesn't hold water. The Sigma male doesn't even need to prove a point. The toxic person's inability to justify their actions does all the talking. It's a subtle yet powerful way of highlighting toxicity without ever stooping to the same level. Number 7, they master the art of unresponsiveness. Toxic people are addicted to reactions, whether it's anger, frustration, or even fear. They feed off the energy their behavior creates. But when they come up against a Sigma male, they hit an unmovable wall of unresponsiveness. It's not indifference, it's deliberate. Sigma males know that nothing disarms a toxic person faster than refusing to play into their game. When someone toxic stirs the pot, most people instinctively react, giving them exactly what they want: attention and emotional energy. But Sigmas, they take the opposite approach. The more chaos a toxic person tries to create, the calmer and quieter the Sigma becomes. They don't argue, they don't defend themselves, and they definitely don't explain anything. Their lack of reaction is so unnerving that the toxic person is left flailing, desperate to provoke a response that will never come. This unresponsiveness isn't passive, it's a power move. By refusing to engage, the Sigma male communicates one simple truth: you don't have control over me. Toxic people thrive on controlling the narrative, but they can't control someone who doesn't take the bait. The more the toxic person tries, the more their antics look ridiculous, and the Sigma's calm presence becomes a glaring contrast to their chaos. What makes this strategy so effective is that it doesn't escalate the situation, it deflates it entirely. Toxic people crave drama, and without it, they lose their grip. Meanwhile, the Sigma male maintains his peace and focus, showing that silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon. In the end, the toxic person's antics fall flat, their energy spent on a target that refuses to budge, leaving them frustrated and powerless. And for the Sigma, it's just another victory earned through quiet strength. Number 8, they starve toxicity by cultivating a mystery. Toxic people thrive on information. The more they know about you, your insecurities, ambitions, relationships, the easier it is for them to manipulate and attack. But Sigma males, they're practically Fort Knox. They cultivate an air of mystery so impenetrable that toxic people are left scrambling, unable to find anything they can twist or exploit. Sigma males understand the power of keeping their cards close to their chest. They don't overshare, don't broadcast their plans, and certainly don't divulge their vulnerabilities. To a toxic person, this lack of access is maddening. It's like trying to hit a moving target blindfolded. The Sigma's life is such a closed book that even their casual acquaintances know only the surface-level details, and that's intentional. This calculated mystery starves toxicity at its roots. Toxic people rely on digging deep into someone's life, finding cracks they can exploit. But with a Sigma male, those cracks don't exist. There's no way to weaponize what they don't know. If the toxic person tries to fabricate drama, it becomes glaringly obvious because there's no real foundation to base it on. This isn't about paranoia or mistrust. It's about control. By controlling how much of themselves they reveal, Sigma males ensure that no one, especially someone toxic, can gain power over them. It's a quiet form of self-defense, but it's incredibly effective. Toxic people eventually get bored or frustrated and move on to someone else, leaving the Sigma unbothered and untouched. In a world where oversharing is the norm, their intentional secrecy isn't just refreshing, it's their secret weapon. The less anyone knows, the harder it is to attack. And that's exactly how Sigmas like it. Number 9, they create exits so smooth that no one notices. When dealing with toxic people, Sigma males master an art most can only dream of: the seamless exit. They don't argue, they don't announce their departure, and they certainly don't engage in any dramatic goodbyes. Instead, they quietly slip out of the situation, leaving the toxic person puzzled, grasping at air and wondering when they lost their grip. This isn't just a disappearing act, it's a calculated retreat. Sigma males understand that confronting toxicity head-on often fuels the fire, giving the toxic person exactly what they crave: attention and control. So rather than battling it out or seeking closure, they move in silence. They reduce contact, withdraw their energy, and eventually vanish without leaving a trace of emotional breadcrumbs behind. What makes this so effective is how untraceable it is. Toxic people thrive on patterns and reactions. They need to know where to strike next. But when a Sigma leaves, they create no trail to follow. There's no definitive moment for the toxic person to cling to, no final argument to dissect, and no opportunity for them to regain control. The exit is so smooth, it feels like the Sigma was never fully there to begin with. For the toxic person, this is a nightmare. They're left obsessing over what went wrong, replaying interactions, and trying to figure out how they lost control. For the Sigma, though, it's a victory. They've exited with their peace intact, avoided unnecessary conflict, and left the toxic person trapped in their own spiral of confusion. It's not just about escaping the toxicity, it's about doing it in a way that leaves the other person powerless to retaliate. That's the brilliance of the Sigma's silent, smooth exit. Number 10, they dominate the power dynamic by being unfazed. Sigma males have an uncanny ability to stay unfazed no matter how toxic someone gets. When faced with insults, manipulation, or passive aggressiveness, they don't flinch, don't retaliate, and certainly don't let the other person see them sweat. In fact, that they respond as though the toxic person's behavior is beneath them, because to the Sigma, it truly is. What makes this such a powerful move is how it shifts the power dynamic entirely. Toxic people thrive on reactions. They want to get under your skin, to provoke you into a display of emotion or frustration. But when a Sigma male remains completely unmoved, they effectively cut the toxic person off from the one thing they rely on: control. It's not just that the Sigma stays calm, it's that their indifference makes the toxic person's antics look ridiculous. The more the toxic person pushes, the more their attempts to provoke become exposed for what they truly are: petty, childish, and ultimately meaningless. The Sigma male's lack of reaction becomes the ultimate form of dominance because it shows the toxic person that their behavior holds no weight. Toxic people are used to having their targets engage in a back and forth, feeding their need for validation, but a Sigma male doesn't give them that satisfaction. He simply stands there, completely unaffected. This leaves the toxic person grasping at straws, trying to provoke something, anything, while the Sigma remains an unshakable force of composure. In this quiet, powerful way, Sigmas maintain total control over the interaction, making sure that no matter how much the toxic person rages, it's always them who is left powerless. In the world of toxic people, the Sigma male stands as a quiet, unshakable force, mastering the art of flipping the script with finesse. He doesn't need drama or confrontation to dominate the situation. His indifference, his ability to remain calm under pressure, and his refusal to engage in the toxic dance are what make him untouchable. By exploiting the toxic person's need for control, disappearing without a trace, and effortlessly remaining unfazed, Sigma males show that true power isn't about fighting fire with fire. It's about controlling the environment in your own way. Every move they make is a deliberate strike at the heart of toxicity, exposing the weaknesses in the manipulative tactics others rely on. And the best part? The Sigma male never has to raise his voice or make a scene. His presence is his weapon, his silence his strength, and his refusal to engage the most effective form of resistance. While toxic people struggle to maintain their grip, the Sigma simply walks away, leaving them confused, powerless, and ultimately defeated. When you don't need validation, when you aren't interested in approval, and when you've mastered the art of indifference, you become untouchable. Sigma males prove that sometimes the best way to handle toxic people isn't to fight them head on, but to show them that they're simply not worth your energy. And that, my friend, is the ultimate power move. If you found this insight into Sigma males and their unmatched ability to handle toxic people intriguing, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content that goes beyond the surface. Like, comment, and share with anyone who needs to hear these game-changing strategies. Let's keep the conversation going. What's your experience with toxic people, and how do you handle them? Drop your thoughts below, and remember, there's always more where this came from. Stay tuned. Bye for now, and see you in the next video.